Okay, so this summer I was out in the field in several sites around Boulder County, hiking around, trying to find fresh enough coyote scat to bring to the labs. Um, so coyotes, oh, and I worked with my mentor, Emily Beam, and then Amy Dunbar Wallace helped a lot with the citizen science aspect of this project. So yeah, between May 21st through the 16th is kind of what I focused my research on. And Renee Hernandez and I visited Lagerman Reservoir, Hyle Valley, Hall Ranch, Reynolds Ranch, Rabbit Mountain, Pella Crossing, and Caribou. And we would go to several of the different hikes, just staring at the ground, looking. And wanted to talk a little bit about coyotes in general. So coyotes have lived in Colorado for many millennia, and they have evolved alongside humans. They're one of the few species that are actually expanding their habitats. And through their remarkable adaptability, they thrive even amidst all the human changes and habitat changes. And as a species with diverse and expanding habitat, they shape the ecosystems they live in. They balance populations of rodents, ungulates, and mesocarnivores, and this can lead to greater bird diversity, disease control, increased plant diversity. So some of the studies that they're going to do with Emily Beam and Joanna Lambert, they're going to look at analyzing in the lab the gut microbiome and the parasite load and the hormone levels and diet to see if this can kind of tell us about how people and the environment are shaping coyote behavior. Because some parasites, for example, can affect behavior and can create bolder behavior. And they want to compare high mountain parasite loads and hormone expressions to coyotes that are closer to humans and see if there are some notable differences, and in hopes of being able to improve human coyote coexistence and just learn more about coyotes, because there's actually a lot we don't know about them still. Yeah, when we were out there collecting, we would note the time and the GPS coordinates because we want to follow each individual coyote and collect DNA information about them individually and see if maybe we pick up an individual coyote in different sites. And the reason that we're doing scat collection is to be non-invasive and not directly be affecting the coyotes. And coyotes communicate with their scat, so we only take a small sample of that. And so the difficulty was that the scat needed to be 1 to 4 days old, because if it's dried out, you can't get all the DNA information. So that was a challenge. So our collection rates, I took us the 57 hours and 108 kilometers that we traveled. And on average, it took 6.33 hours and 12 kilometers to find one scat. So it was very, we'd be out there for days sometimes and not find any. So that kind of brought up my question is as to whether there would be potential for crowdsourcing and citizen science, and was considering the ease of that. It would be really easy. We could have a QR code with quick training, and then the individuals could drop GPS coordinates to suspected scat site, and all they would have to do is upload a picture and drop the coordinates. And they would not have to be in contact with the scat at all, because there are a lot of diseases, so they would just have to take a picture. And there are 2 million visitors to Boulder County open spaces per year about. So there's a potential to have a lot of eyes on the trails, which would be very helpful for us as researchers. So I did a poll to gauge interest. And one of the questions I asked just really off the bat with no training was, can you identify which is the coyote poop? And pretty much everybody was correct. Only 2 people, even without training, were able to identify. So I think that has a lot of potential there. And the answer is the picture on the right. The coyote scat has a lot of hair and bones in it, and it's really dark in appearance usually, at least when it's fresh. So these were some of the goals. Basically, I only got to the feasibility polling aspect, but these are some of the steps that could be taken further, and highlighting what kind of collaborations you would need with the city of Boulder and parks and open spaces. And then we would be posting QR codes at trailheads. And we would provide the easy instructions and training. We could either just use a Google form and like drop in coordinates, or use something like iNaturalist, which is already has an interface that could be easily used for other people. So yes. So I just posted on Facebook and Nextdoor over a 1 week period. I only posted one time. I got 43 responses. I think there were like 1,500 people that looked at it after 2 days. So a lot of people saw it also. One person who polled was not interested in learning about coyotes. But obviously people who take the time to poll are probably going to be interested to begin with, but still that's 43 potential eyes on the trail versus just 2. 36 of 43 people would be willing to do a little bit of training and drop the GPS coordinates and a picture if they did see it on the trail. And then I asked how people would be interested in learning about the results to try to see if people wanted to engage further with the results of this study at the end. And people did show interest in that, especially as an email newsletter. Then I asked what other ways people would be interested in engaging, because something about citizen science is you can include people in the research, and it provides a lot of opportunities for education and community outreach. And since coyote and human conflict is an issue and there's a lot to be learned and shared about coyotes, I wanted to see how people would be interested in engaging. And most people were interested in learning more about coyotes with scientific understanding and indigenous storytelling perspectives. And we were also talking about children's programs and presentations, and someone added at the bottom their own feedback, which was nice. So here is just an example of an existing use of QR codes in Boulder County. They have a little bit of information about mountain lions at some mountain lion heavy areas. And so that's just kind of an example of what it could be, what it could look like and how people could engage with it at the beginning of the trailhead. My coworker and lead field tech, Renee Hernandez, is the one who gave me the idea about asking people if they would be interested in learning about indigenous storytelling aspects of coyote. And for Renee personally, these stories have had an impact on her, and her own story really resonates. So if we were to do the project, I asked her, she'd be willing to do some of these outreach and talks. And we also talked about hikes for wildlife and scat identification. And there were a lot of people interested in that too. So this is just a QR code for abstract and acknowledgements and references. I actually had like 12 references. So there were a lot of good research things I pulled from. And that is that. Yeah.
Question from Michaela.
So were you actually able to analyze the scat and everything like that, determine the behavioral differences and like the parasites and everything like that?
Not yet. This has been going for like 4 years
Okay.
so far. And then I think they're doing 2 or 3 more years. And then they're going to like all at once do all the lab analysis, which will take a while too. But I'm really curious.
Were any like really interesting niche like coyote facts that you want to share?
Let's see. Oh, I didn't know about the escorting behavior, how people get really freaked out because they'll like run alongside you, but they're just kind of escorting you like away from their area. It's not like a stalking behavior most of the time.
I was wondering what it was you said that made everybody laugh.
I don't remember. Something about the coyote scout. Or?
No, escorting.
Oh yeah, that it was really funny actually, because everybody 100% had said yes, and then like 5 minutes before I was like gonna copy and paste the picture, someone like went in there and said no in the poll, that they were not interested in learning more about coyotes. But yeah, but I mean, this is most of the people who responded, and it is kind of biased in that way because I also sent emails out to scientists. So most of the people who responded were going to show interest But the point was to show that there was interest, so that's okay too. Any more questions?
Thank you very much.